So thinking about all of this through the lens of wanting people to want to know where on the actuarial curve they fall, what their predicted mortality is. You talk about two separate things, but I rarely hear you bring them together. So
Okay.
you've got protocols, sleep, red light, earthing, all that. And then you've got nutrient deficiency. Help me bring them together.
Okay.
Does this database that unfortunately is never going to see the light of day that you've said would just absolutely destroy medicine? I forget the words you use.
It would just upend modern medicine in a way that would be catastrophic.
Because when you say catastrophic, you mean it would end that industry because people would realize drugs don't solve it?
Yes. You would realize the true consequences of a lot of the pharmaceuticals that are out there right now.
Got it.
The true consequence of mRNA vaccines and the additional production of spike proteins. You'd see the true consequence, the genesis of what happens with long-term statin use. You'd see the inappropriate use of a lot of beta blockers, calcium channel blockers, and diuretics, which are actually targeting the heart when the heart isn't the issue, it's the vascular system. You'd see the consequences of long-term use of things like levothyroxine and Synthroid that are pounding on perfectly healthy organs for crimes that they're not committing, because the issue is actually methylation of thyroid hormones outside of the thyroid, not the actual thyroid itself. I mean, if you want to talk about a pandemic in this country, we have a pandemic of medicating organs for crimes that they didn't commit.
And we are doing that because we have a system that has a pill for every ill. We're not looking for root cause analysis. We are addressing the symptom rather than the cause.
We're addressing because in symptom management, there's a multi-billion-dollar industry. In disease prevention, there is no multi-billion-dollar industry. I mean, look at type 2 diabetes. It's a $110 billion annual industry. Do you think there are meetings going on somewhere in Big Pharma right now to say, hey, let's find a way to put that out of business? It's a $110 billion annual industry. The SSRI business, the opiate business, the business of, and I'm not just saying that these do not have a specific place, nor am I saying that there's this sinister motive to try to kill everybody. But what I'm saying is we don't look at human beings with the thought that this body could heal itself if it had the raw material to do its job. Look at the number of people that are on hypothyroid medication. Well, if you look at the thyroid production of thyroid hormones, the thyroid produces all of the thyroid hormone T4, but it only produces 20% of the thyroid hormone T3. Yet we use thyroid hormone T3 to diagnose hypothyroid. Well, if people are low on thyroid T3, there's an 80% chance it's not the thyroid. But what do? In 100% of the cases, almost, we medicate the thyroid. We're holding the thyroid responsible for a crime it's not committing. So the question is, where does the other 80% of the thyroid come from? It is methylated in the gut. We take thyroid hormone T4 and we methylate it into thyroid hormone T3. So why don't we look to the gut to put the nutrients into the gut to start converting thyroid hormones before we start standing on the thyroid synthetically? If 85% of all hypertension diagnosis, people with hypertension, high blood pressure, are diagnosed with idiopathic hypertension, or what we call primary or essential hypertension. They all mean the same thing. If 85% of these are of unknown origin, then why don't we start looking for the origin in certain nutrient deficiencies? Why don't we actually look to see if the vascular system is overconstricted because of homocysteine? When we start to look at rheumatoid arthritis, why are we not doing specific test set rates and RA factors to determine whether or not somebody has this autoimmune condition versus just taking the symptoms that they have and putting them on something like a corticosteroid? And I could go on and on and on. I'm not saying that these medications don't have their place. They are just so dramatically overused because we have lost faith in the body's ability to heal itself. And we don't go hunting for nutrient deficiencies. And so let's put all of these tests together, like you said. You know, I do a genetic test on people, or my clinics do genetic tests. You don't have to get the genetic test through me, but there are plenty of really, really good genetic tests, but there is a genetic methylation test I think every human being should do once in their lifetime. Why? Because you only have to do the test once. You do that test once, you will never guess again on what your body can convert and what it can't. And then you can supplement for deficiency. See, your aversion to supplementing is rightfully found because you would be supplementing just for the sake of supplementing. If you just started taking a bunch of great supplements, but if you knew that your body couldn't convert a certain nutrient into the usable form, you should be a lot more comfortable supplementing with just that nutrient. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying take a bunch of supplements off the shelf and just start shoveling them in. I'm saying get data, do a genetic test, supplement for deficiency, and then use your blood work to track whether or not that's working. And in the blood work, there's about 74 biomarkers that I look at. There's plenty of clinics that look at the same biomarkers. They are not germane to me, nor do I do anything incredibly special with those biomarkers. But I look at glycemic control, how well you control your blood sugar, which we talked about, hormone balance, which is extraordinarily important, and nutrient deficiencies, things like D3, B12, and nutrient deficiencies. If you look at those three categories, I mean, there would be a massive shift in systemic pathology and disease in this country if people would supplement for deficiency and monitor those three areas of their blood work. That's the simple part. And then, of course, there's all kinds of fancy biohacking things that you can do, but for zero, you can do breath work, expose your skin to sunlight, touch the surface of the earth, and take a cold shower. There's not a person listening to this podcast, no matter what their budget is, that couldn't add those four things to their daily routine, and it would change the entire trajectory of their life, right? Yes, my clinic manufactures, and we sell very expensive red light therapy beds and PEMF and oxygen. And if you have the budget to purchase those things to make life convenient, great. But it is not a necessary part of you becoming an ultimate human or becoming optimally healthy. You can do all of that on a very, very little budget. And then shifts in our diet don't actually have to be shifts in the things that we like to eat. You know, I do these things with clients all the time called lateral shifts. You know, we'll go to their refrigerator and I'll say, okay, let's open up your refrigerator. You show me what you like to eat. Oh, you like this yogurt with fruit on the bottom, this Dannon yogurt with fruit on the bottom. Okay, this has high fructose corn syrup, and it's got 54 grams of sugar.
Whoa.
So what we're going to do is we're just going to take whole fat Greek yogurt. You like the blueberry flavor? Okay, we're going to get organic blueberries, and then we're going to use monk fruit. And you're going to take a scoop of, a couple tablespoons of whole fat Greek yogurt. You're going to take a fistful of blueberries, and you're going to take a teaspoon of monk fruit and mix it up. And you tell me if you can tell the difference between those two, which you can't. And this one has an entirely different nutritional profile than this one does, with the corn syrup and the fake fruit and no fats and virtually no protein. And it's all high glycemic carbohydrates. This one has healthy fats, is low carbohydrate, high amounts of protein, and still tastes exactly the same. And this is not a massive shift in your budget. It's just a shift in your awareness of what you're eating. Get things like seed oils out of your diet, genetically modified foods, because the evidence on genetically modified foods now is terrible, that it may actually even be altering our own genome. Right? It may actually, these genetically modified organisms may actually be negatively impacting our own DNA, altering our own DNA.